Oh my God, it finally happened! The Lion King remake from 2019, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, which is saying something, by the way. I actually could not finish that movie when I was watching it. I got halfway through, got to the part when Simba showed up to Timon and Seth Rogen, and I turned it off. It was just that abhorrent to me, insultingly bad. It confounds my logic. I couldn't understand why we needed a remake of this. It added nothing. It was insulting because, again, it's like, it's a live action remake, except it's not live action. This is just Disney printing money for itself. And by God, did it print money. I think it made like $1.5 billion, the box office. Earning it the title of the highest grossing animated movie of all time, which pissed me off. How dare you have that title when you're not even trying to look animated and presenting yourself front-facing as live action? It was insulting. But thank you, the Joy, that's her name, right? Joy from Inside Out 2 for grabbing onto live action Mufasa's paws and throwing him into the live action wildebeest. Inside Out 2 took that title and is now, not including inflation, the highest grossing animated movie of all time. That's the thing though, and I'll mention it here in a bit. When it comes pound to pound for how much the dollar is worth, an American dollar, technically, adjusted for inflation, a live-action Lion King still beats out Inside Out 2. But hey, we'll take our technicalities when we can.
One-way expressway to... We're not gonna think about that right now. Woo!
That all being said, I became curious. I was like, I wonder what the top 10 list includes, you know? The top 10 highest grossing animated movies of all time. What's on the list? And yeah, it's as bad as you might think it might be. Maybe bad's the wrong word. Derivative. That's the word I would use. I'll be real, after COVID, I thought that these box office like juggernauts for the animated world and even live action world were kind of done for. I'm like, people don't really want to go to the theater anymore. It kind of sucks. Movie theaters can be awesome or miserable, and more often than not, miserable. I wanted to go see Furiosa in theaters, the small theater in Santa Fe, and had the most obnoxious movie experience of my life. Five dude bro college guys sitting behind me, treating it like it's like open mic night at some comedy club. By the way, they weren't funny. They were f***ing miserable and annoying. I told them to shut up multiple times. They wouldn't listen. It was terrible. I hated it. I was just sitting there being like, I hate movies. I hate the movie theater. This sucks. That someone else can come into my theater and rent it for me. And I can tell the staff like, hey, these guys are talking and the staff won't do anything. So I don't know. I just, in a way, when theaters are going down during COVID, I'm like, maybe this is for the best. Maybe finally they can be set to pasture. But then again, I went to go see other films this past year where it's like, I went to go see Dune and IMAX. Everybody was amazing. Everybody was so wonderful. And it was an incredible experience. I even got teary-eyed while watching the movie. I'm like, it's so emotionally impactful and resonated with the audio, the visuals, just the entire atmospheric experience. And you can't really get that while watching a movie on your TV, your CRTV, is that what they're called, at home. It's a double-edged sword to say the least. That all being said, I thought we reached peak box office numbers in the late 2010s. COVID derailed everything. Theaters were like, we don't know what we're doing anymore because we're trying to do streaming, but we also want box office money. What are we doing? What are we doing? But then we had movies like Oppenheimer, the Barbie movie, Dune Part 2. By the way, check out my cool Shai Hulud tattoo I got. Isn't it awesome? Yeah, I'm amazing. No, I'm joking. But that all being said, it goes to show that people will still show up for movies if it's a good experience and, more importantly, marketed as a good experience. Word of mouth, grassroots, even if it is just a company shoving marketing down your throat, it goes to show you that folks will still show up to watch movies, and that was the case for Inside Out 2, and that's why, because when it came out, I think it performed modestly. No, actually, it performed pretty great, actually, its first opening weekend. But I did not expect it to perform this well. It went the distance. So that all being said, this preamble to this ramble, I wanted to go down the list and see, hey, who makes up this top 10 list. And it goes to show that this list actually, you'll see it stacked up in certain ways where it's like, oh, you favor something, don't you? Got it. You're thinking like, oh, there'll be a lot of cool original movies on this list. Nuh-uh. Wrong. It's gonna be sequels. It's gonna be franchises. It's gonna be spinoffs. So strap in, folks. Let's talk about the top 10 highest grossing animated movies of all time. But real quick, sponsor. What's the matter with you, Saber? Have you no shame? As a matter of fact, I don't. But shame won't prevent me from embracing the new. And the Courtside Classics from Vessi is a classic style and a new package. It's especially handy for when I go to conventions, as I frequently do. Lots of walking and exploring that I could not pull off otherwise if I wasn't wearing something that kept me comfortable throughout the day. And whenever a fan comes up to me for a picture or I notice their choice in shoes, I shake on my boots. Or in my Vessis in this case, I scream, elevate your urban lifestyle. Don't go flat-footed with your skater shoes. As cool as they may look, it'll be at the cost of your feet looking sore and tiresome. Your feet look tiresome, that's what normal people say. Instead, consider a new philosophy of comfort and style. That is what Vessi is all about. Navigate any urban environment, tackle any daily activity in comfort. And when the world starts to pour down on you, your Vessis will keep you dry, or at least your feet. I'm still trying to convince him to make an umbrella. So until then, I'm gonna help you all get started on renewing your philosophy of comfortable shoes. Head on over to Vessi.com/Saberspark, and you will get an automatic 15% off your order. Then you can navigate your world in a similar grace and comfort as I do. Thanks again to Vessi for sponsoring this video, and now back to the video. All right, so I'm gonna start off with number 12 on this list, okay? And by the way, as far as metrics go, this is measured in US dollars, and this list is not adjusted for inflation. If it is, there will probably be some differences as far as like The Lion King, the 1994 version. I think it's like number 14 in the top 50 highest grossing animated films of all time, which means, again, pound for pound, it's a higher performer inflation-wise than some of these that are listed in the top 10. But just for the sake of simplicity, we're going with who made the most money, not adjusted for inflation. So just take that for what it's worth. And yes, we're starting with number 12. Why is that? Because it's the movie that went the distance, Zootopia. No one saw this coming. Well, one guy I know saw it coming. But ultimately, Zootopia, when it came out in 2016, I remember like seeing trailers for it. I thought, hey, this could be a fun movie. It's got anthro characters. Shut up.
Does this make you uncomfortable?
And I sat in the theater, watched it, and I was blown away. I'm like, this is a really fun movie. Wonderful animation. I love the story, the mystery. It's a buddy cop film. Judy and Nick had wonderful chemistry. I like the world building, good comedy, good pacing. It was just an excellent story across the board. And I was surprised. I'm like, man, people are loving this film. But of course, anthro characters are universal. Folks love it. And I'll tell you what, the Japanese really love Zootopia, and the Chinese too. I think Zootopia Land is being opened in Shanghai Disney. So this film crossed the 1 billion marker benchmark. It made in its entire theatrical run $1,025,000. So yeah, $1 billion franchise. And it's pretty remarkable because again, it's based on nothing before, really. It's just an original property that went the distance. So props to it. There's a reason why we're getting a sequel. I'm excited for the sequel. I just want to give a shout out to that. It's an honorary mention. I wish it was in the top 10. I think it was, but it got bumped down. But overall, Zootopia, amazing. It's one of the only ones on this list where I'm like, yes, you deserve that. Number 11, Finding Dory. I can't remember that movie. I can't. It's just, I guess Dory got lost in the aquarium. Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. The movie made over $1 billion. It made $3 million, more than Zootopia. Cool. Okay, let's get to the actual top 10, okay? Here we go. Number 10, Despicable Me 3, made $1,034,799,409. I'm gonna start rounding up from now on. So it made over $1 billion. I never saw Despicable Me 3. I just don't care, guys. I just don't really care about the Minion franchise or Gru or whatever. I watched the first Despicable Me. I enjoyed it, thought it was fun, thought it was cute. Ever since, I'm just kind of like, this is, for kids, little kids and their parents. And that's fine. They can have fun. Obviously, they're showing up and watching it. Obviously, Illumination makes amazing, money when it comes to these things because they know how to make cheap films. I say cheap, relatively cheap compared to the rest of the industry. They know how to market their films, and they've been doing it quite well. I think they've made 6 entries into the expanded Gru universe. So, hey, take it for what it's worth. But for me, Despicable Me 3, all I know about that is like Trey Parker from South Park's in the movie. That's all I know. Never saw it. Whatever. Off to a wonderful start. Number 9, Toy Story 3. Now, this film I loved. That was such a wonderful conclusion, I wish, for the franchise. It made over $1 billion, beat out Despicable Me 3 by $30 million, actually. Toy Story 3, the conclusion for a franchise that we did not get, was a wonderful story. It was so heartfelt. Felt like a really proper, perfect conclusion for Woody and Buzz and the rest of the toys and Andy. But man, when you make over $1 billion at the box office, yeah, I guess I understand too why Pixar and Disney is like, Woody, get out of the box. You have to pilot the franchise again, Woody. I'm sorry. Which leads to our number 8 on our list here, Toy Story 4. Which beat out Toy Story 3 box office-wise by, I'd say, $8 million? So another win for Pixar and Disney, making lots of money. Toy Story 4, it was good, but unnecessary. I stand by that. It's like, this is a well-told story. There's good, jokes, beautiful, as far as visuals go. Unnecessary. I still stand by that. I'm like, Toy Story 3 was perfect. We don't need Toy Story 4. Sure, it's still a good movie, but it's just not necessary. But I'll tell you what is necessary, Disney getting that money. By the way, y'all seen a pattern so far? Number 7 on the list. They're back. Minions. Minions made $1,159,398,397. I watched the Minions film. I can't remember anything about it except that at the start of the movie, they had an excuse of why the Minions did not work for Hitler. I'm not joking. That's the truth. They're like, they're working for like dinosaurs back in the day. So apparently Minions, they gravitate towards the most evil person during, I guess, historical moments. They worked for, I think, Napoleon at one point. And then right before World War II, they conveniently were frozen. Not the movie, but, in ice. It's like, oh, thank God. Thank God. I'm glad the Minions did not work for Hitler. That would have been awkward. Minions to me is like your quintessential, like big, brainless animated spectacle. It's for the kids, for the families, it's for marketing, it's for merchandising. Just there's nothing really to it that makes me feel like, yes, this is art. It's not really that memorable. It's more of a cultural, I guess iconic character. The Minions are everywhere. So as far as like marketing and merchandising goes, well done, Illumination. As far as a good story goes, I'm like, this is just fast food to me. Metaphorical. Number 6 on the list is Incredibles 2. It made $1,242,000,000. I rewatched this movie recently, and I liked it a bit more the second time watching it than the first time. When I first watched it, and it was like 2017, I think, I thought, this is not what I expected. I'm not a big fan of the, we're subverting your expectations with the villain behind the villain. But ultimately, still a fun film, good action. We're all there because, it's the family unit. It's a family unit, a mom, a dad, and the kids, but they're thrown into the world of superheroes. Because I also watched the first Incredibles again. I'm like, wow, that's a good movie. Syndrome was one of the best villains. I loved Syndrome. I think that's the main thing for me, is you have the heights of an amazing villain in the first film, and then the second one, it's like, it's the hidden villain, it's the girl who's the sister to Saul Goodman, and which is not like bad. It's just I'm like, I wanted a badass villain, and they're making a third movie, which I'm wondering, will they age the kids up? I don't think so. I think it's too hazardous to what they got going on. But I hope that at least have a villain come back in the third movie that's a lot more fun than the screen slaver, whatever, in the second film, which was initially cool, but then kind of fell on its face. But ultimately, Incredibles 2, I mean, people love the Incredibles franchise. I can see why it got number 6 on the list. Number 5 is Frozen. That's not surprising. Frozen was a big deal. I remember in the early 2010s when that came out, I'm like, man, this it was like a blizzard. It swept the nation. Dairy Queen, where were you? No, it made $1,290 million. And yeah, that was like a cultural touchstone at the time. I think the movie's very simple. I think it gets the job done. The second film was not as much fun as the first, but it looked more beautiful. And there's improvements in some ways, and then I think downgrades in others. Like Olaf was annoying in the first film. I thought he was pretty cool in the second film. Which, by the way, we'll talk about the second film here in a bit. But ultimately, Frozen, I can see why it's number 5 on the list, why it's in the top 10 at all. But it's the songs that carried it. You know, Let It Go. Yeah, everyone. I had... my niece was young at the time when Frozen came out. She was the perfect age for enjoying the songs and the toys and the merchandising. I remember she had a birthday and I'm like, man, it's Frozen everything. Disney's making a killing here. So yes, that is also getting a third movie, just like The Incredibles. Who would have guessed? Number 4 on our list is a new entry, the Super Mario Brothers movie. That came out, I think, in 2023, I believe. Yeah, I think so. That made $1,361 million. Yo, it's Mario, come on. And I'm glad it got good, like a redemption story here, considering the Mario Brothers movie from like the 90s, the live action one. But yeah, we had its redemption story, and I thought the movie was okay, my expectations were so low that it being serviceable was good enough. And after watching it again out of theaters, I'm like, this is just an okay movie. It gets the job done, that's Illumination for you. It's a company that's like, we won't bomb, we won't critically be a huge hit. We know how to make popular box office hits. That's what we do. And maybe as the franchise goes on, because they're going to make some more Mario Brothers movie, because the curse has been broken. And video game movies are the new hot thing. Let's go all out. Maybe they'll get more creative, more bold. That's the thing about Illumination films, is they're very predictable, very just, I don't want to say pandering. I guess they are kind of pandering to families and audiences, but whatever. They do it well enough. And I guess they don't have to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, the Mario Brothers movie being number 4 on this list, that makes sense. It's Mario. He's the most popular video game icon in history, so yeah, not surprising. Number 3 on this list, Frozen 2, $1,453 million. Okay, yeah, it's a sequel to Frozen, made lots of money. I thought the story was different compared to the first, but the first one was more satisfying and interesting to me. But for the most part, it's kind of forgettable. I guess we'll see what happens in Frozen 3. Give us like go full on edgy. Go full on Hot Topic, where it's like, I'm the Frozen Queen Elsa, and I'm the Fire Girl from the Fire Nation. Not that Fire Nation. There'll be like a fire, princess or whatever, and Elsa be the ice princess queen, and they fight it out. Whatever. There's tons of fan art of it on, the Googles. Just give the people what they want. Give us an antagonist who you can even do the, maybe I'm on the wrong side. Maybe I need to be better. No, I'm the fire princess. I'll shoot fire at you. And they'll be like a Goku, Vegeta, blasting lasers at each other thing. Just give us that, please. Give us the fire-wielding antagonist. Just make it happen. All right, number 2. This cursed entry. Lion King 2019, $1,656 million. Insulting. That's all I gotta say. I feel like The Lion King 2019 is like just the peak of Disney selling out during the 2010s, because they ruled the 2010s with an iron fist. Which it's funny because the 2020s have not been as kind to them. COVID definitely threw off their entire industries, plural. But just seeing it, because we have the Endgame movie in 2019, which is like, at least that one took a long time to get to that point and was a crowd pleaser, not perfect, but it was an event. Lion King 2019 felt like it was selling out, where the live action quote unquote craze and trend of like Disney films being, adapted into live action, this one was the biggest slap across the face. And to see it perform so well in the box office just confirmed, because at the end of the day, it's my subjective opinion where I'm like, I think this is a bad film. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's cheap. I think it's just multiple things where it feels insulting. But then you got legions of folks who are like, I love it. And I'm like, well, they're entitled to their opinion. If they, want to go see the movie, then go see the goddamn movie, I suppose. But to me, I couldn't even finish it. I'm a guy who watches bad movies on the regular for my job. But this was like the most insulting moment in Disney history, in my opinion. Where I'm like, this just seems like they know they can print money. I'm kind of glad that, like, with COVID, it kind of put them on the ropes in a way, as far as the industry goes, where it's like you can't just keep printing money with live action film adaptations. I mean, they're trying. It's funny because they went through their catalog pretty hard, where they're like Aladdin, Snow White, The Lion King, and now it's like, you guys are running out of ammo. Now they got Snow White. I don't think it's gonna do as well. Are you out of ammo, Disney? And Disney's like, we're not. We're going to do a live action Moana, actually. It's like, oh, okay, never mind. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's a company. So, of course, they're going to be, in their sights is the money, first and foremost. Got to keep stockholders happy above all else. So 2019 Lion King just, to me, feels like it was never deserving of the spot of being the number one highest grossing animated film. But then I realized after looking at this list that the majority of things on this list, it's not like it's like a Ghibli film where it's like, wow, so cerebral and critically acclaimed and just beautiful. That's just not how the way the world works. Most of these films are very general audiences, broad appeal, heavily marketed, not really, they're not dare takers. I would say like critically the best ones on this list are like Toy Story 3 or, God damn, is that it? I think so. Frozen was okay. Mario is yeah, I'd say critically out of the top 10 list, Toy Story 3 is probably the best. And by the way, number one's Inside Out 2, made $1,667 million at the time of recording this video. It's still in theaters, it'll probably go a bit further. Which is, Inside Out 2 was a good movie. It wasn't great, wasn't terrible, it was serviceable, it was good. It was a good sequel, and I'm sure now it's gonna get a third film, unsurprisingly. And I'm at least like relieved, like, okay, Inside Out 2, I'd rather it be number one versus Lion King. Though it's kind of funny because Inside Out, I'm like, man, it's a good franchise. It was a good first movie. I didn't realize it would be this financially successful, but hey, what do I know? And maybe this is indicative of like, people wanting to go back to theaters to watch movies that are worth it, and also movies that are marketed to be worth it. But ultimately to me, what I see here, folks, is a list that is overwhelmingly Disney. Out of the 10, 7 of them are owned by Disney, and the other 3 are owned by Illumination. And on the list, looking at, the sequels, the spinoffs, the remakes, that's 8 out of 10. Technically 9 in a way, because Mario, the Super Mario movie is based on Mario the franchise. So yeah, there's only technically one original movie on the top 10 list, and that's Frozen. Yep, I think you all again see the pattern here. And out of the top 50 highest grossing animated films of all time, only one of them is not American as far as like distribution goes. The majority are like DreamWorks, Illumination, Disney, Sony. Only one of them is not, and that's at number 28 with Ne Zha from China, which I still gotta watch that and review it. That was the movie that's like, yo, we're here. We have a bloop on the radar, Americans, check it out. But ultimately, this top 10 list to me is like the power of marketing, the power of very established, like almost institutions in the industry when it comes to animation. And yeah, Disney also, after 100 so years doing this dance, can still throw down occasionally. They messed up with Wish, but broken clock, they can still make some money. And if anything, Inside Out 2 has confirmed to them where they're like, yeah, you know what? We want money after all. Toy Story is getting a sequel. Incredibles is getting a sequel. Frozen's getting a sequel. Sequels. Sequels are safer bets. That's why we see so many of them on the top 10 list. And that's why so many, Hollywood folks today still do sequels and remakes and reboots, because they're based on confirmed popular things. And to them, that makes their money feel safer than taking a leap of faith on an original idea. But here's the thing, these sequels were based once on original ideas. So, ergo, you have to occasionally take leaps of faith or you're gonna be stagnant. So, yeah. It does feel like an assembly line at times with these movies. It doesn't help that the industry itself for animation is in a bad place where, the folks who worked for Inside Out 2 a lot of them got fired, and then they had record profits for Disney and Pixar. So it seems like the animators and the folks who work on these films aren't really being treated well as they should. So there needs to be better accountability in the industry to actually take care of the people making these movies, because if not, then the movies will suffer because of it, and more importantly, the people are gonna suffer, and that's unacceptable. Just interesting in general, seeing how movies, animated films seem like they can still make a comeback in theaters. As far as TV shows go, that's kind of up a creek. I have a video in the future here talking about that, about how I think the internet basically killed cartoons, at least in a way. Now it's all decentralized, scattered across YouTube and TikTok. I remember when I went to the airport last week, and I saw this kid sitting in front of me with his mom, and he had his iPad out, and he's just watching Digital Circus Content Farms. And I'm like, man, I used to watch Avatar and SpongeBob and Hey Arnold and Powerpuff Girls, and now it's just Content Farms apparently replace cartoons. So I'll have some words about that. But ultimately, those are the top 10 highest grossing films of all time, and now I know. Folks, what do you all think about this list? What do you all think about the current state of animation? Tell me down below in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.